Once again, people, this is my official Telegram channel. Any doubts or queries that you have, you may post it over here. Apart from that, public sector unit. So yesterday's class, basically, we saw the performance of PSUs. That is, we saw first the Arjun Sengupta committee recommendations. Arjun Sengupta committee recommendations we saw. We saw what are relevant in it today and what are obviously irrelevant. Number two, in addition to this, we saw what is Memorandum of Understanding. We saw about the GEM portal. These are some of the topics what we have seen. Good morning, Sakshi. All right. So these are some of the topics what we saw there. So we are continuing our discussion today with regard to why PSUs are needed, etc. Again, we saw some data also. Data with regard to the fact that the net profit of PSUs have been increasing. This is our understanding so far. That is, PSUs have been performing well. One obvious reason for this is, yes, the fear of disinvestment or privatization. Because this government is very clear. If you're not performing, then shut down or disinvest. That is one thing. The second reason is obviously what we call the Ratna culture. The Mini Ratna, the Navaratna, the Maharatnas, which gives enough amount of autonomy. Even to take financial decisions. And third one obviously is what? Memorandum of Understanding, where performance of a PSU is determined on the basis of targets achieved. How much capital expenditure, how much profit, what is the reduction in the operation cost, all of that. That is, MOU culture has has brought in judgment based on quantifiable or verifiable data. This is our understanding so far. Clear, people? So some things which I have given there, they are all for additional information. You need not by heart it. That is, I've specifically marked it there that these are just for your information. Jan, that's it. Clear? Good afternoon, Lipika. Good afternoon, Satish. Now, taking the discussion further, let us look into corporate governance. Corporate governance refers to the values and guidelines followed by an organization for its effective functioning. The concept of corporate governance has gained global prominence over the years, primarily with the focus to monitor, control, and guide decision making of the top leadership. That is the main idea. Corporate governance, when we say, it is not about how you are handling your employees or the HR managers, nothing. Top level per what can be the do's and the don'ts. क्या कर सकते हैं, क्या नहीं. During the era of globalization, Indian corporations were pushed out of their comfort zones. To survive and prosper internationally, they had to adapt their claustrophobic Indian corporate governance models so as to better attract global talent and customers. Means the LPG era actually focused Indian corporates to change the way they are thinking, they are functioning or running their business. You cannot run like, "Are apna hi danda hai. We are the only leaders here." That is no more possible. You had to compete with foreign players, means you should think like a foreign player. Hai na? When your competition is working harder than you, then you cannot afford to say, no, I will only work like this. That is not going to happen. Getting the point here. So working harder, I can see, understand. Working harder here means they are getting better technology. They are staying updated. They are constantly looking. They are having a vision. 10 years kaisa, 20 years kaisa. They are having a vision. You are not having any vision. You are still producing the same thing what you produced in the 1950s. Ultimately, what will happen? You will get shut down. Best example, Hindustan Motors. Ambassador car. You simply Google and see 1950s Ambassador car. An image will come. 2000 Ambassador car. You will find hardly there is any difference. The only thing, finally, what Hindustan Motors did, that in the early 2000s, I believe, they brought in power steering. That was the only major update they made. Otherwise, body, structure, everything the same. No change whatsoever. That is, हम ऐसे ही बनाएंगे, हम कोई change नहीं लाने वाले. You kept on doing the same thing. People rejected the model completely. It had to shut down. Same thing with HMT. A milestone in corporate governance was achieved when SEBI was established and given statutory powers in 1992 by the Indian government. In the Indian context, certain public sector and private sector organizations have established effective corporate governance mechanisms. The Punjab National Bank's fraudulent issuance of LOUs, letter of undertaking, has exposed the systemic chinks in Indian banking sector and the dual need for technology and strong corporate governance to check frauds. Which fraud are we talking about here? The whole Nirav Modi thing. So just need not go behind the letters of undertaking and all. The letters of undertaking is generally given. That is, say for example, I am a seller. I am a diamond seller. Okay. So there is Punjab National Bank. So what I do is I approach the bank and I say that for these many diamonds that I am purchasing. Okay, these many diamonds I am purchasing from this foreign country. All right. So I need a letter of undertaking. Letter of undertaking simply means it's Punjab National Bank is telling that yes, we have the necessary funds for buying those diamonds. Nothing wrong. So I approach Punjab National Bank. Punjab National Bank will make payment for me. LOUs are issued and then the payments are made. That is how it is. That is, they are saying that they will make the payment. Okay, agreed, no problems. The next problem from where it started happening is when letter of undertakings were kept on getting issued, even though nothing was being bought, nothing was being sold. Fake letter of undertakings, each one of them going into crores together. That is, Nirav Modi was basically not buying any diamonds, nor was he selling any diamonds. He was getting this money frequently from Punjab National Bank because of two corrupt managers there. One of them got retired, the other one got transferred. New managers came there. Nirav Modi again went on to ask for letter of undertaking. Though new managers felt something is not right, they took the whole full history. They understood that without even buying or selling anything, letter of undertakings were being issued. So this letter of undertaking, you must understand, it basically simply means, yes, we authorize this transaction, whatever you are buying or selling, and this much money is there in the account. That is the point here. But who was using that money? Nirav Modi was using the money without actually buying anything, without actually selling anything. Funds were, he was always, it looked as if he's having fund after fund with him. It was a big surprise even for the diamond merchants around the world because they were wondering, how is that this fellow who just started his business in the last few years, he opened a boutique, he opened a shop in London, in one of the busiest streets in London, where the daily rent of that place will alone run into lakhs of rupees, daily rent. Monthly means it will easily cross 40, 50, 60 lakhs or whatever. How is he able to afford it? Then he is opening another shop in USA. That is, he's literally opening his shops in different parts of the world. And diamond business is not something where you will get repeat customers. Once you buy it, that's it, right? Who will keep buying diamond every month? That is how the whole thing came out. Just for your information, I gave it. But the point, what we are trying to stress here, what is that? Corporate governance principles needs to be streamlined, need to be tightened. Kyun? Varna, you will have ghotalas like this, corruptions like this, we will keep having it. One of the first steps taken by the government of India to ensure that corporates are working properly or not is establishing SEBI in 1992. That is the first thing they did. The major impediment in achieving desired level of competitiveness is governance deficit due to certain key issues which require immediate action. Some of these are. So to improve corporate governance, what is required? What can be done? Autonomy of the board. That is the first thing every discussion is telling. That board should be independent. You should have zero political interference there. Or in other words, this is exactly what Woodrow Wilson has told in his 1887 essay. Politics administration dichotomy is literally needed in PSUs. No doubt about it. A competent and autonomous board is important for success of any corporate. However, ministerial diktats diktats means directions. Excuse me. Directives. That will be a better word. May at times influence the board agenda in case of PSUs and take precedence over strategic and commercial considerations. PSUs have no role even in selection of independent directors. That is the sad part here. Literally what? No freedom. Without full operational and financial autonomy, it is difficult to have a structured performance evaluation system for the board members and fix accountability. When directors are being in the board are being appointed by the minister, and every decision you have to seek the minister, then how can you then later go and question the board? Why the numbers are so less? You need to bring experts there. Experts in the field you need to bring, and you need to tell them, see, these are your targets, do whatever you want, this thing should run in profit. If it runs in profit, I will give a percentage of it to you. End of the story. It's as simple as that. But no. Taking it further forward, ownership policy. There is no ownership policy in place. It is needed to clearly lay down roles and responsibilities of the government towards minority shareholders and other stakeholders such as employees, vendors, customers, and communities. That means, let us say there is a PSU where 80% is owned by government, 20% is owned by other people. Government should keep it in mind about this 20%, right? 20% came and invested in this PSU not because they love the government. They came and invested for what reason? More money. That means the considerations should be what? Pakka commercial. Paisa. But more often than not, they don't take that decision. They only take decisions which will win them votes. Recall vote maximization tendencies of politicians. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development states that the government should develop and issue an ownership policy that defines the overall objectives of state ownership. the state's role in corporate governance of state-owned enterprises, and how this policy is likely to be implemented. Bottom line here simply is the ownership policy should be clearly defined. In other words, the whole idea that if there is a PSU, and this is the ministry, between the two, PSU government, which simply means the ministry, keep a holding company, where the holding company should run this PSU like a proper business organization. Simple. Completely oriented with what? Should run this PSU with complete profit orientation. This is what is really needed. Getting the point here. Government should not interfere. Government created the structure, that's it. Can actually question them on performance alone. Whereas, who should be recruited? What should be the policies of the PSU? What is the long-term plan, short-term plan? All of this you need to have what? In these matters, basically, there should be no government interference. This is the idea. Clear, people? Moving on. The ownership policy should be clearly disclosed and communicated to fix accountability. Appointment of independent non-executive directors and women directors on PSU boards. Legal provisions and guidelines issued by SEBI and DPE, that is Department of Public Enterprises, have laid down requirements for the constitution of PSU's board to ensure their independence and gender diversity. A properly structured board is necessary for ensuring objectivity of board's decisions and exercising oversight over decisions of board and its committees. Out of the top 27 PSUs, according to a recent study, 25% do not meet the criteria for independence of the board and nearly 25% do not have a woman director. That is not at all a nice thing. Good afternoon, Aparna. Getting the point here. 25% PSUs, what is it? Do not meet the criteria for independence. Means what? There is political interference. And in another 25% do not have a woman director. Again, it is a reflection of the patriarchal mindset. Why I will tell you, this idea was given actually by a thinker called Cathy Ferguson. That is, bureaucracy will behave just like the society. What and all society's behavior is a society generally, there is a good majority of people who still think that women are inferior. Why will you ask a woman? Many sexist jokes are still passed around in our country, thinking that, oh, it is okay, we can make sexist jokes. But that actually reflects our mindset, that we see women as inferior, below men. The PSUs are also a reflection of that. Getting the point here? Taking it further forward. Non-compliance with legal requirements and SEBI and DP guidelines. It is disconcerting to note that many of the top PSUs are falling behind in complying with minimum requirements as envisaged by the SEBI and DP guidelines. Even the compliance audit conducted by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India has highlighted this issue. Other issues that were highlighted by the CAG were, in some CPSCs, the non-executive directors constituted less than 50% of the total strength of the board of directors. Non-executive directors means not part of the government. That means independent directors. Less independent directors were small in number in most of the boards of the PSUs. That means what happens there then? Or rather, autonomy gets compromised because of that. There was no woman director on the board of MMTC Limited, Metals and Minerals Trading Corporation. Representation of independent directors in 24 CPSCs was below the required number. What required number? The requirement as per SEBI and DPE. Now, the interesting thing here to note is, if it was a private company that was doing this, halla would have happened. SEBI would have fined them, government would have threatened them, many things would have happened. But when the government itself is owning it, getting the point here, government itself is owning it, what action can be taken? Appointment is being made by the minister. What action will you take? Nothing. Vacancies of independent directors were not filled in time in 13 CPSCs. No independent director was nominated in the committee by 7 CPSCs: Anthrix, BLI, GGL, HSCC, IIFCL, JCI, and NHDC. JCI did not have CSR policy in place. There were under allocation of funds towards CSR by 6 CPSCs: CCIL, HUDCO, KPL, NCL, PFCL, UCIL. Expansion of this, you can Google it and find it out by yourself. Not that every last PSU you have to remember. Pick and choose whatever you like. But this clearly shows, see, CSR, corporate social responsibility, private companies are following it without fail. PSUs, they are doing their own manmani. Why? Lack of funds. When you don't have enough funds with you, how are you going to dedicate funds for CSR? That money also you will use it for whatever emergencies you need. Excessive and overlapping regulation. Besides Parliament, PSUs are also accountable to other authorities: Comptroller and Auditor General, that is CAG, Central Vigilance Commission, Competition Commission of India, and RTI. That is every agency coming and knocking your door. Okay, why did you do this? Show me all your accounts. Vigilance Commission, okay, why did you purchase this? Show me all the accounts. Competition Commission of India, okay, you did something. Is it monopolistic behavior? Have you done something which will affect other companies very badly? Then at the end of the day, RTI queries. That means the board loses time in triviality. Triviality means of less value. Sasta. In Hindi we say cheap. Board is busy answering the questions of CAG, Vigilance Commission, RTI query, that query, this query. They are not having the time to make a long-term plan. आगे क्या कर सकते हैं? Nothing. Over-regulation has not only created accountability problems, but has also killed corporate governance. Issue of governance deficit in PSUs should be addressed, and if the PSUs have to make a mark on world business map, then they should be looked at not as government, but entities running to make judicious use of resources they have been entrusted with. That is simple. Like I told you, make it behave like a complete company. Make it behave like a complete company. Make it very clear. Within first year, you hire whomever you want. We want to see the change. We want to see you making the changes, necessary changes. Give it away. You will soon see things are working really well. Political interference, the moment you take it out, things will start moving very clearly and very nicely. Clear, people? Taking it further forward. Corporate social responsibility. Although a topic which actually comes in your GS paper 3, we will do this briefly. It was a PYQ in mains, GS mains, not in optional. In GS mains, it was there. But still, it can come in our optional paper also. Directly as well as indirectly, it has appeared. But we will take it up once more. So what is the rule about? What is corporate social responsibility? In compliance with Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013 and provisions of the Company CSR Policy Rules 2014, which took effect from April 1, 2014, all companies, including central public sector enterprises, with a net worth of at least rupees 500 crore or a minimum turnover of rupees 1000 crore or a minimum net profit of rupees 5 crore are required to spend at least 2% of their average net profit for the immediately preceding 3 financial years on CSR activities as per the items listed in Schedule 7 of Companies Act 2013. So these three you would have understood. Net worth of at least 500 crore, minimum turnover of 1000 crore, or a net profit of at least 5 crore if you are having, you have to allocate funds for CSR activities. How much? It will be average of net profit of last 3 years. That means if you're talking about a PSU CSR responsibility, I want to calculate for the year 2025-26. Okay. So what will I do for that? I will first see what is the profit in 24, then 23, then 22. 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crore. This was the thing. 1 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 6. 6 crore. 6 crore divided by 3 years. That is 2 crore. 2% of 2 crore. Means how much? 4 lakhs. Correct? You will get it as 4 lakhs. 4 lakhs should be spent on CSR. And what will be CS? What are the activities there? Many are there. Slum development, water supply, electricity connection, cleaning. Many activities are listed there. So whatever is listed in the Schedule 7 of Companies Act, you're supposed to be doing it. Such companies need to constitute a CSR committee of the board consisting of 3 or more directors, of which at least one shall be an independent director. The CSR committee formulates and recommends to the board a CSR policy indicating the activities to be undertaken by the company as specified in Schedule 7, recommends the amount of expenditure on the activities, and periodically monitors the CSR policy of the company. The board of every such company must approve the CSR policy of the company, disclose contents of such policy in its report, and place it on the company's website after factoring in the recommendations made by the CSR committee. So my wife again is working with Wells Fargo, which is an American banking company. As part of their CSR initiative, what they did was that they cleaned the biomedical waste in and around NIMHANS Hospital, National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience Hospital. Whatever biomedical waste were there, they cleaned it. True, these are the activities. The employees themselves only will go. Company will not hire people from outside. Company, what they will do is one day they will say CSR activity. They will go there, they will clean that area. They'll be given everything. That is gloves, protective overalls, all that will be given. They are supposed to go and do it. This is the idea behind it. Ensure that the activities included in the CSR policy of the company are undertaken. The total CSR expenditure for the year 2021-22 stood at 4,600 crore, showing a progress of 2.61% as compared to previous year. A total of 160 CPSEs undertook CSR activities during financial year 2021-22, incurring a total expenditure of 4,600 crore. The list of top 10 CPSEs undertaking CSR expenditure during financial year 2021-22. Now look at the beauty. Why do we still need PSUs? 4,600 crore spent by the PSUs in a single year in corporate social responsibility activities. Clearly shows what? If they have money, they will do everything. This clearly necessitates that disinvestment and privatization is not the only way. Give them the freedom. Once the money starts coming in, they will be able to do everything. Case in point being, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, NTPC Limited, Indian Oil Corporation, NMDC Limited, Power Grid Corporation of India, Mahanadi Coalfields, Power Finance Corporation, GAIL India Limited, REC Limited, Oil India Limited. These are the PSUs which have spent money on CSR activities. Clear, people? Then, majority of the funds have gone into what? Majority of the funds, if you look at it, has gone into eradicating hunger and poverty, healthcare and sanitation, 44.99%. That means almost 45%. Clear? After that, you have education and skill development at 19.81%. That means almost 20%. The next in line, you have contribution to funds set up by central government, 14.44%. Keep it at 14 only. 45 plus 20, 65 plus 14, 79. Almost 80% of funds going into these three sectors. Burden of government is getting reduced here, right? This is a classic example again of what? Metrics organization. Why? PSUs are involved in socio-economic development. This is also a very good example of metrics organization. Number 2, new public service. Participative management. Getting the point here, people? Taking it further forward, Public Enterprises Selection Board. Any doubts on CSR? Any doubt with regard to anything that we discussed so far? All right. PESB, Public Enterprises Selection Board, from the name itself, selection. Purpose is, for every PSU, there will be a top board, the board of directors. PESB's purpose is to make recruitment. Recruit people to the board of directors. This is the idea. Taking it further forward, the Public Enterprises Selection Board is a high-powered body constituted by Government of India resolution dated 3/3/1987, which was subsequently amended from time to time, the latest being on 11/11/2008. The PESB has been set up with the objective of evolving a sound managerial policy for the central public sector enterprises, and in particular to advise government on appointments to their top management post. That is, sadly, they only advise. Ultimate decision lies with whom? Government. Then why do you need this? Getting the point here. See, if you are actually creating a body as per differentiation or diffraction, fused prismatic model, diffuse prismatic diffracted model, we know. As per the diffracted model, if you see India, you are having a separate entity for everything. So PESB's purpose is what? Yeah, we will appoint directors, everything. Fine. But just creating a body is not enough, right? नाम के वास्ते you create a body without giving it any power or any independence. What is the whole point? अगर आपको ही फैसला लेना था तो फिर बॉडी ही क्यों क्रिएट किया? Ultimately, if the government is the one who is going to take all the decisions with regard to the appointment, then why did you even create a board? Unnecessarily giving them salary, pension, and all the other paraphernalias. Unwanted expenditure. If you truly want to create the board, give it complete independence. End of the story. Make it very objective. Keep an exam. This. Then run it. Run the show. Getting the point here. Taking it further forward, functions of PESB. Specific functions assigned to the PESB include the following. To be responsible for the selection and placement of personnel in the posts of chairman, managing director, or chairman cum managing director level 1, and functional directors level 2 in PSCs, as well as posts at any other level as may be specified by the government. To advise the government on matters relating to appointments, confirmation or extension of tenure and termination of services of the personnel of the above mentioned levels. Chairman, MD, chairman cum MD. To advise the government on the desired structure of the board level and for senior management personnel for each PSC or group of PSCs. To advise the government on a suitable performance appraisal system for both the PSCs and the managerial personnel. Again, they will advise the government as to what criteria should be kept to know whether PSU is performing or whether the management is performing or not. Now, one thing here, some students were asking, public sector entity and public sector unit, what is the difference? They're one and the same people. You call it entity or unit, it is the same thing. Clear? To build a data bank containing data relating to the performance of PSCs and its officers. Build a data bank. Each officer, how well or not they have performed. Each PSU, create one. Advise the government on formulation and enforcement of a code of conduct and ethics for managerial personnel in PSCs. Advise the government on evolving suitable training and development programs for management personnel in PSCs. That is, prescribing a code of conduct and ethics, development programs for management personnel. All these advisors who will give PESB. I'll tell you one interesting scenario here. So I think it was in the Oil and Natural Gas Commission, one of the PSUs. The director is about to retire. PESB Obviously, PESB, fund director or an MD or chairman, somebody was going to retire. PESB's job it is to find the next chairman or MD, correct? It is their job. Even after 2-3 months, they were not able to find anybody. Then what did they do? They asked the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, you find someone. Why was this body created? Body was specifically created so the chairman, MD or director, if any, to make appointments, top level appointments, level 1, level 2. Correct? Level 2, level 1 appointments के लिए you have created this. PESB, even after 2 or 3 months, were not able to find any ideal candidate for that post. Finally, what did they do? They went and told the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, "Kaam kar, you form a selection committee, you find somebody." Then why did you create this? What did the ministry do? They did not create any selection committee and all. The chairman was going to retire. They told him, you do one thing, we will extend your service till we find somebody, some replacement for you. He had to continue. This is the problem, fundamental problem in our country. If you actually see, for every purpose, we have a particular body or an organization. Board bolo, department bolo, you name it, we have it. Lekin problem kya hai? Nobody does their job well. Why? Why there was so much of trouble in finding a proper chairman or a replacement here? Because ये जो point है, building a data bank, there is no data bank as such. There is no data bank to get to know which are the best directors working in what and all PSUs. Which director आने के बाद the PSUs पूरा horoscope changed. No way to know. So what is the only option then? No option. You will also say, sorry, we couldn't find it. Because ultimately, even PESB is also what? It's a board of the government of India. Selection nahi hua to, nobody is going to fire them for non-performance. And that is the issue with bureaucracy, right? PESB need not worry about no worries about not doing their job. मिला नहीं किसी को, क्या कर सकते हैं? I couldn't find anybody at the top post. I didn't find anybody. You only go and find. Totally shameless. That is what we can say here. Obviously, don't write it in your exam. But why such behavior? Because you know it very well, it's a government job. There is no hire and fire in government job. Government only will have to come up with a solution. Clear, people? The Public Enterprise Selection Board held interviews for the, it is IOC, Indian Oil Corporation's chairman on May 16th this year, but had rejected all 10 candidates. That is 2024. It had instead asked the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas to constitute a search-cum-selection committee for the selection of a candidate for the top position. However, the government had extended the tenure of the incumbent chairman, Vaidya, by 1 year at the time. This was a rare case where a retired PSU executive had been given an extension post-superannuation. Ideally, anybody more than 60 years old cannot continue in government service. Even after retirement, he was asked to continue. This example right here clearly shows you can use this word and all. A. You can highlight this as a criticism of bureaucracy. B. Diffracted models without decentralization. Because ultimately, even now, government only will make all the decisions, right? So obviously, PESB has no commitment. They themselves rejected 10. They said 10 also are 10. Thus B is unsuitable. Now you only go and do it. Why did PSB say that? Because ultimately, even if PESB makes a selection, government has to make that appointment based on the advice given by PESB. It's only an advisory role. It's not complete independence. Getting the point here. So, another example of what toothless organizations, because you don't have true freedom. Any doubts so far, people? Any doubts? All right. So after visiting our Arjun Sengupta committee recommendations, let us now into one of the next important committee that comes in our chapter, which is SK Roongta. So let us look into that now. Former SAIL chairman, that is Steel Authority of India Limited, SK Roongta headed panel had submitted its report during the UPA regime in November 2011. That was back in 1984. This is in 2011. Increasing the number of listed CPSEs over the years. That is the first thing. Increasing the number of listed CPSEs means they should come in the share market. To bring in what? Financial discipline. CPSEs need more functional autonomy to compete with nimble private players. Nimble means very efficient. So, basically we can see this point is relevant. This is also relevant today. Policies of PSUs need to be replaced to suit the emerging business environment. Absolutely correct, because you have to compete with private players. Security of tenure, minimum 3 years for managing directors and chairmen to bring stability in the management of PSUs. Very, very, very correct. Formulate policies to free PSUs from the clutches of administrative ministries as they interfere in the day-to-day affairs of corporatized entities, thus hampering their efficiency. Now, why did I highlight this point alone in a different ink? The reason being that this is one of the fundamental deviations from what Arjun Sengupta committee told in 84. In 84, Arjun Sengupta committee told, no, it is okay if ministry's involvement is there. It is okay if if directors are appointed by the ministry, because they can act as a bridge between the ministry and the PSU. 84. By 2011, the thought process have changed. That means after 27 years, we have come to the realization that ministerial level of interference in day-to-day administration cannot be tolerated. Getting the point here? Very, very important point. So this is also relevant today. Interference from ministries has impacted the trading of stocks of PSUs at discounted values. Means PSU values have been trading in the share market also at lesser price, not at the high price. That is also gone away now. That is no more the scene anymore. PSUs, when they are going public, the share prices are increasing like anything, because government is literally decided that let us leave it to the market. Market demand is high, price will also increase. The panel has also affirmed that having a business development committee in addition to the audit, human resource and remuneration committees would help strategize and evaluate business development proposals and guide A company's diversification, acquisition, joint ventures, new business entry, organization structure, review, etc. Government should be run like a business. Back to Wilson again. See, that is the strength of Woodrow Wilson. 1887, whatever he wrote, today we are seeing that literally each and every point matters today. Government should be run really efficiently, economically, and effectively. If you see, our PSU is a classic case. That is, if Woodrow Wilson was alive today, and if you had asked him what should be done for the PSU, whatever he gave in his first essay, each and every one of those points, you can implement it. That clearly shows the importance why even called what? Father of public administration. What he saw in 1887 is relevant today. Visionary, I must say. Clear, people? The committee recommended that the Comptroller and Auditor General of India should publish an annual report on the best practices in different CPSEs, as observed by it in the process of doing the oversight functions to be shared with other CPSEs. This, according to the Confederation of Indian Industry, is expected to not only help CPSEs learn from each other and improve their performance, but also create a positive mindset around the role of CAG around them. This is nothing but what? Comparative public administration. One of the most practical point. That is, अरे यार आपस में देख लो, पढ़ लो, उससे सीख लो. Don't go to USA and don't go to Antarctica or UK. You are having another PSU nearby you which is working very efficiently. You take the lessons from there. What are you waiting for? Where there is a specific need to enter a partnership in line with the board's approved strategy, an in-principle clearance should be taken from the administrative ministry. That is, if you are entering into a partnership, then take the clearance. Partnership, you are going to partner with somebody, then only ministry's clearance. Otherwise, your own decisions, if you have to take, leave the ministry out of it. To reduce government intervention, the panel has suggested segregation of the government nominee's role on the board from his position in the government. This would empower the government nominee to suggest perspectives in line with other independent directors without prejudice. Again, a very valid and a very important point which is relevant today. That means if a government nominee is there, minister's nominee, so whoever it is, they should remove all the other ties with the government. They should come there independently, only as a board member there. Their only job should be the board member, working independently. Not that, okay, Minister Saab ne mujhe appoint kiya hai, I will show loyalty to the minister or the government. No. Any official views of the government could be conveyed to the board during board meetings. This ensures that government views are taken into consideration along with other stakeholders. You don't require a separate member. Government can basically tell, this is our idea. This is what we want. The panel recommended increased autonomy for CPSE boards in the selection of consultants, vendors with proprietary technologies, technology partners, joint venture partners, acquisition of companies. You want to buy out a company, you want to merge with somebody, you want to go for a joint venture. At the small level, small levels you want to do, they should be able to do it. PSUs should be given complete freedom. They want to get a new technology, latest that is out there, they should be able to buy it out. This is the suggestion of S.K. Rungta. It is necessary to give CPSEs more flexible selection of search process and the provision to negotiate settlements. However, such autonomy will bear fruit only when managements are provided with clear guidelines. They can select and hire their own people that they want. That means bring in the experts, bring in the specialists. The committee further observed that CPSEs have little say in the board composition. Board often lack domain knowledge and there are delays in appointments. It's absolutely true. That is, let me tell you, One nonsense that had happened. Forget the board, PSU here. Most of you should be aware of the hero from Hindi film industry. That is Mr. Shatrughan Sinha. People from the south may not know him much, but there is this actor called Shatrughan Sinha. What if I told you at one point of time he was actually appointed as the Minister for Shipping? See, any other MP, what is it, somebody who has already worked in multiple ministries is appointed there, I can agree. Shatrughan Sinha, Ministry of Shipping. What is the link between the two? What experience does he or she have? This is the same problem with the PSUs also. People who have zero domain knowledge are sometimes brought at the top of these boards. They don't know ABCD about that PSU. What is it producing? What is the issue? What is the market? What is the price? Nothing they know. The report suggested that the Department of Public Enterprises or the Public Enterprise Selection Board should formulate a panel of approved names from where independent directors can be selected. This panel of directors should be updated every 6 months. Again, if you actually see, not being done. Apart from the administrative ministries, CPSE board should be allowed to suggest names of independent directors to the panel. The nomination committee should identify knowledge gaps in the board and recommend candidates from the approved panel. Knowledge gaps means, let us say now I am going to be put on top of a PSU board. I know about competitive exams, how it should be conducted, etc. That knowledge I have. Another person have expertise with regard to that particular product. But we need some more people. We need people who know business. We need people who knows management. So that particular board members needs to be hired because the knowledge gap is there. So wherever board is lacking a particular expertise, that particular person from that field should be hired. The committee recommended that the Central Vigilance Commission should examine the database of directors or personnel and make vigilance clearances to them available online. That is the next important thing. See, when you are getting posted to the top post, it is important that vigilance clearances should be obtained prior. That means if I am appointing somebody as director, before that only vigilance clearance is required, and that should be made available online. Not that the usual Gisapita file will be sent, then vigilance will inquire, then another letter will be sent from the vigilance after months together. No. All this should be maintained online. Pretty soon we will move into that. I'm telling you again and again. That is the reason again I was telling you. Once you go online, most of the things, whatever we say under SARC, ensure accountability, ensure transparency, all that gets nullified. The committee recommended that a separate body should be constituted within the PSEB specifically for selection of CMDs and CEOs of Maharatna Navaratna CPSEs. A vigilant framework should be developed in discussion with the CVC. However, internal vigilance clearance should not be the responsibility of the central vigilance officers of CPSEs. Instead of assigning CVOs on short-term deputation, the CVC should maintain a panel of CPSE executives at the level of executive directors and directors who could be evaluated for the position of CVOs. Central Vigilance Officers of CPSEs are basically meant to ensure no bribery or corruption happens inside their office, within that organization. That is CVO. Generally, if you see, they are either the executive directors or directors who are generally appointed as CVO. This is one thing. Internal clearance to be given should not be the responsibility of the CVO. Why? Overburdening it will be. Internal vigilance clearance should come from CVC itself, that this person is cleared. You can go for the higher level of appointment. I know it is very, very exhaustive, like elaborate. Too much it is. Try to remember most of it. Reread them. Because this is what you have to put finally in your way forward section. So that whatever we saw here is very, very important. Any doubts here, people? At least by now, you should be in a position to understand that you need what are the solutions to improve the public sector enterprises in our country? Independent board. B, reduce the political interference. C, increase the financial autonomy. These are the points. At least this much, if you remember, enough. This much is the minimum. Because obviously, I'm not expecting a direct SK Runta committee recommendations. Because first of all, it is from 2011. 14 years ago. Chances are very less that it will come as a direct question. Mention some of the recommendations of SK Runta. Chances are very, very less. But worst case, we don't know. All right. Maximum you will be getting with regard to what PSU, disinvestment, privatization. Other than this, what can be done? Other than privatization or other than disinvestment, what alternative is there? SK Runta committee suggestion, you will put it in way forward. End of the story. Getting the point here, people? This is what you have to do. Any doubts so far? Any doubts? We'll do one thing. Disinvestment, we will take it up on Monday. Okay, let's call it a day.